What supplies are we buying in Anne Arundel County Public Schools to serve school meals? Next on Food for Thought. Hi, I'm Jody Rissy, the host for Food for Thought, and thanks for watching. Today I am honored to host Steve Giraldo from FPC Distribution. Welcome, Steve, to Food for Thought.
Jody, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So can you tell the viewers a little bit about yourself personally? Like who are you? What do you do?
I'm a person that lives over in Graysonville, Maryland, on Kent Island. I have a son who is at school in the big city in New York, going to Marymount Manhattan. I've been here been different stints in Maryland, originally from Philadelphia, and have been in this business longer than I care to tell you about. I've been here a long time, and but I really love Maryland. I really do. It's my second stint here. So.
Very good. Well, thank you for coming to Food for Thought, and thank you for being the best business partner. I really want to start the show with that because. Often people say, how do you work with people? What do you do with people? And you're always there. I could pick up the phone. I can call for anything that we need in Anne Arundel County, and you're always there. So for that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jody. That's nice. And it's a pleasure to do business with you guys. And I'm proud to do business with Anne Arundel County, and you have been just a pleasure to work with.
Good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So what does FPC Distribution do? I'm sure viewers watching, they're saying, well, what is this? Like, why is she on there with him today? Right. So what do you do? Can you tell us a little bit about who FPC Distribution is?
Sure. We're a wholesale distribution company. Started in 1953, a family business started by Wilson Rowe, and now his son is the owner of the business. Started more as a corrugated type of company. That's where FPC is fiber products. Okay, so, but as the years evolved, the business became more broad, and the fiber part of it, or as you would say, the corrugated part of it, kind of went away, and some of it was sold off and became more of a broad line distributor. So what we do now is really work in two separate areas: janitorial, or what we call facility maintenance supplies, and then on food service disposable supplies.
And I believe you do both of those here in Anne Arundel County, correct?
Yes, we another real positive for Anne Arundel, we work obviously with you and the food service people, and then we also have the other side of the business, the facilities maintenance, where that's the high-end stuff like toilet paper and towels and all the things you need.
Yeah, and they're really important in schools.
And really important to the schools. So it's really really nice to work with, and we have a couple other school districts like that, but you guys are at the top of the list.
Good. Well, of course, we're Anne Arundel, right? I always tell you that. We're A. We should be first.
That's right.
How about your role day to day? So, what does your day-to-day operation look like, and what you do, and how you service not only school districts, right? And you can give shout-outs to the other school districts. I think that's great. But what does it look like? What do you do when you get up, and how do you really, work with all of these institutions, businesses, school districts around the state?
Okay. I guess the best way to say it is our business, we concentrate probably in 3 or 4 areas. In terms of segments of customers. Obviously, education is a huge one for us. Then we do healthcare, but not as much acute care as we do long-term. Nursing homes, those types of places. Do a heck of a lot of restaurants, singles, bars, things like that. And then we also dabble in lodging and leisure, hotels, fitness centers, things like that. So. We really try to focus, I guess is what I'm saying, and the school business or education business is really, really important to us, and I take great pride in it. My job, I'm the chief operating officer of the company, and I kind of get into everything, whether it be from the suppliers to getting it out the door to you guys, getting it out the door to customers, the trucks, the drivers, the purchasing, the customer service, pretty much all of it. And I really don't I'm not day to day out in the field. I really only do business with, or really spend time with two of you, really with Anne Arundel Schools and with Hopkins, the hospital. And that's small, much smaller in terms of what we do with them. But we do a ton of business in the education. We have a lot of the school districts around Maryland. I'd say probably 10 to 12 Baltimore County schools, Hartford, Cecil.
And even into Virginia, maybe? Or can you do
Well, we're
Virginias
looking
or
to do some Virginia
Pennsylvanias?
right now. We
Okay.
do Pennsylvania. We've looked at. Again, we want to try to stay within a radius because people do it differently. You have more store-door delivery, just like Baltimore County schools, where some of them take them into warehouses. But we have to watch that because you get too far out, then you don't service correctly, and that's really important to us. And but we're proud of that business we do with the schools. I'm very proud of the education side of it, and it really warms my heart when we're able to take care of things. And it's for the kids. I love you guys, but you know, it really is them that really get the benefit of what we all do.
Yeah, and I think that's been the most rewarding part of working with you, right? And I think we do it with all our vendors, but we always say we're only here for the students, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think everybody's really important in ACPS. We have great staff, you
Yeah.
know, great teachers, great education and academic work in each and every school, but seeing that child and fueling them for success all day. And I think you and I talk about it often, right? Like
Often.
almost every time we meet,
Yeah.
we kind of bring it all back to what are we going to do with our students, right?
Yeah.
How do we take care of them? How do we have our students in Anne Arundel County have the best experience with their plate, with their fork, with their spoon, with their toilet paper, right? Like, you never
Yeah.
know. I mean, that's not under our jurisdiction,
Absolutely.
but it really does. It
Yeah.
all plays together. And I think with the education segment, I guess, and you talked about it a little bit about being a warehouse or not, right? So we don't have a warehouse in Anne Arundel County. So for somebody watching, it's like, well, what do you do? It truly is. You send out trucks, and you probably know way better than I, how many trucks could be going out to Anne Arundel even today? Is it 4? Is it 5? Is it 6?
Probably, you've helped us develop that plan of how we get out there, because I think there's 127 locations we deliver to. And that could be really helter-skelter if you don't do it correctly. And with your help and putting together how we deliver the elementaries, the junior highs, the highs, we have put together, we probably have today, and it goes out every day, basically. It just depends on what segment of the school. Is it the elementary schools or is it the high schools and the junior? So we pretty much send a truck or 2 or 3 every once in a while, probably every day.
Yeah.
Every day, just delivering to the individual locations. And our drivers even know a lot of your people in there. You know, they get off the truck, bring it in, and they take pride in it too. And we try to let them know how important it is with this segment in particular. Not to make light of any of the other ones, because the nursing homes are important, but it's important to supplement the work you do. You know, I know how hard you work to get the food and all the other things, but I've always said, and you and I have talked about it, if we don't have something for them to eat on, and something for them to pick it up with, and something for them to wipe their mouths with, we're not the Stone Age. You know, we have to have things for them.
Right, we said we're not going to serve them
yeah,
in
we
their
can't
hands.
do it. You can't do it.
Right.
So, you know, I get chills about that. I really do. You know, you got to look a little higher than just saying, here's some stuff. You know, here's some plates, and here's some of this, and you've done a wonderful job not only in doing what you do on the food side, then you have the whole supply side too, and I've enjoyed it so much working with you.
And it's funny because we often laugh, and for somebody watching, they don't know the particulars maybe about how we operate, right? So I'm very particular, right? Probably sometimes, I don't know, I'm very particular, right? I want the best we can get for these students, and we chuckle and even say, I think they need linen napkins, right? Like, but we do only deal with $4.26 as a reimbursement for lunch, which is really, it's so low. There's very little money to work with. So I love the opportunity to be able to look at different products. And you're always bringing me, like, here's, you know, we love to serve with black serviceware, right? So we want a black fork, we want a black spoon, we want a black knife, we want black plates, just like you would see in a restaurant, because I believe there are 122 restaurants. So I think that's fun, and the best part is it really positively had an impact on that student.
Well, you're right, and you know, you bring Anne Arundel Schools, and with your leadership in this group, bring a style, as I say. I always say to you, it's a style, because a lot of the things that some of the schools are just normal, you know, a normal tray, but you've been able to work around all you've been trying to do and add the style and make a better experience for the children. You know, I call them the kids. You know, I call my own kid a kid. But you know, I really respect that because it shows a caring. And you know, then a responsibility comes to the supplier to be able to see what we could do to make sure you get your message across, what you're trying to do as the leader of your business. So it's really a rewarding experience. I don't know how else to say it.
Well, let's tell the viewers a little bit, like when we started pre-pandemic and when we first met, and I could remember being in the conference room and I had my very particular way about what we felt we needed, and I could remember you just shake your head and you were like, but this is what we're serving, or this is what we're using in all of these great school districts, because they are. It's a great product. And I said, but we're different.
Yeah.
You know, we want it to be classier and very much aligned with retail. So, you know, let's talk about that. How we started our dialogue years ago. And I don't even know how long we've been working together. There was a salesperson that would call upon us in Anne Arundel County. He was awesome. He decided to retire. Good for him. It was kind of bad for all of us, but I think it really gave you and I a great opportunity to, you know, expand our relationship and really look at what's best for kids.
Sure.
So how, in your mind, like how do you pave that path for somebody watching?
Well, you know, I remember coming in and when I first met you, because I wasn't doing, you and I we didn't know each other, and I was more as a supplement at that point. The gentleman who was here had retired, or was retiring, and I asked him to come with you because for some reason, I lived in Anne Arundel County for a while. I lived over in Severn, and I also lived in Howard. I've been here in a lot of different places, but I remember you talking about something different than what I've been used to. And like I said, I've been in this business a long time, and you talked a little more about the style, talked more about an experience. You don't always get that. You know, most people, it's the cheapest thing I could get, blah, 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 you know, and you had that different, and that probably I was surprised.
I think you were.
I was going.
I think you were.
I said, where am I? Am I, you know, am I at the Marriott? You know, it was just one of those things that I really
fine
said,
dining.
wow, this is pretty cool. And so that gives us a chance to create instead of just mundane. And I think that as I've gotten to know you, I know you live by that, and that's the way I like to see it too. And so we now have developed that rhythm, I guess, to know. I always try to bring you something new, like you said, but I always know in my mind what I think you're looking for, or at least you'd be interested in.
Right.
If I brought you in just a regular thing, I got a feeling that's not going to work there. It may work at other places, and that's what they want, and that's fine.
And it's still an acceptable product,
Yeah,
right?
oh yeah, absolutely.
I think we just want to, you know, it needs to be
a cut above.
Yeah,
that's the way it is. Yeah,
I agree. I think our students deserve it, and I think it's working with someone like you that makes it all possible. You know, it's a lot of discussion, right? So let's talk about, you know, again, pre-pandemic. You know, back in the day, we would see each other. Do you think once or twice a year? There'd be some phone calls.
Yeah, there'd be some calls.
There probably would only be a visit or two in person.
Yes, you're probably right. And because everything was going okay. You know, everything was fine.
Right, we established, so when we write a bid, we write a bid with specifics. You all have worked with us very nicely on, you know, here's your plate. You know, do you want a next level plate or in the different color? So for those watching, if you have children, right, we always use black plates with all that. So I think it was specific discussion, but not necessarily challenging or trying to find solutions.
I think you're right, only because the world was a different place and things were okay. You know, you like you said, you did a bid. And I always try to look at things, we don't try to just do the bid. You know, a lot of people out there hope and quote and hope, depending how you want to say it. We try to develop these, I call them more contractual, and they need more than just especially during the pandemic, as you know. But before that, it was just kind of an okay thing. Okay, we'll give a call. Never got a lot of complaints. Never really talked about that much. But kept in touch. But never the way it's been and needed to be during these very trying times we've been going through.
Right.
And that's the other thing.
And I think that's the perfect segue to talk about what happened when COVID and school shut down. Right. So, going back to that day, I remember saying to our superintendent and to all of our staff, we went home on a Thursday night. We were coming back and we were serving on Monday. And I could remember saying and having the discussion, you know, with the superintendent, more supportive and more awesome than anybody I could ever imagine. And he said, can we do it? I said, of course we can do it. We're going to serve breakfast and lunch on the curbside. And I think we can do dinner and I think we can do a snack. And to be honest, in my mind, without a doubt, our staff is so good, I knew they could do it, but we really didn't have a way to implement that, right? So the first thing we had to do is start conversation with you, right? Like, how do you package everything that is now in a salad bar, all self-serve, all open for our students to take 8 to 15 fruits or vegetables a day, to something being a half cup in a container.
Exactly,
right?
sure.
How do we put pizza in containers? How do we bag things, right? Remember our solution, we had to go find bags and we had to find, let me think, saddle bag holders. No,
Yes,
is that the correct term?
That's it.
So let's talk about that, right? I mean, we went from talking and we understood each other and it worked.
Sure.
Here comes COVID, schools are closed, and we're going to serve every student on that curbside. Effective, we thought 2 weeks.
Right. I remember that so well, only because, as I said before, I remember my son was a senior over in Queen Anne's County, and I remember that Thursday. I remember that Friday they said, we need to flatten the curve. You know, we're going to be 2 weeks and we'll probably be okay. I remember the calls because I'm going, oh my gosh, because if they're not serving food, how are they going to get the kids the food? And I never realized how many kids, you know, needed the food. And we had to change our whole model. Here we go from trays and other things. Now all of a sudden you say, Steve, I need things to put food in. I need bags to put them in. I need a whole different model. And I'm going, oh boy.
Yeah, and we need 50,000 servings.
Exactly.
Can you have it tomorrow?
Yeah, and you know, we worked, I'll never forget that, because we got some of our suppliers involved, people who, you know, do the Ziploc bags or whatever it may be, because that wasn't a big mover. It wasn't necessary in the education because everybody was serving in the
traditional sense.
Yeah, the lunchrooms and things. You know, we went through the same thing with the state too, because we do a big business with the state. We're involved heavily, and prisons are a big thing for us. And the prisoners then had to go to lunchrooms anymore. It was all eating in a cell or wherever it may be. That was a whole other experience. But I remember we tried to change on the dime. That's one of the things about our company. We're not the biggest, but I always compare it to, we're like more of a speedboat than an ocean liner. We can change quicker. We can do things quicker. We can react quicker. I, over my many years, have a lot of relationships with suppliers, and they came. So we moved from this type of supply over to this type of supply, and it was during a time that I think we knew about the pandemic. We understood it, but we never knew how bad things were going to get and how long it was going to last and how many people it was going to affect. And I remember scrambling for stuff, and when I would say, well, we need 500 cases of these bags to set for you guys, you know, and we had some, I remember we had to go pick up some in Philadelphia. I remember picking up some in Jersey, trying to get prepared for you. And like you said, put them in the sacks and get the thing to hold the saddlebag holders.
Yeah, because that made it easier for the staff.
Exactly.
But we didn't know.
Because that's the way they're sold. You know, they're hard, you got to pull them apart, but that's what that's for. You see it in supermarkets more, but we never had to do it for the schools.
And I can remember you saying to me, well, what's the number? Like, we need a forecast. We need a projection.
Sure. Sure.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, well, I think this is what we typically do. And we knew when we go to the curbside, we knew how summer meals work when we go into the communities. So we had great ideas, but the number was always just, I think, slightly higher, right? So that's when we even came up with standing orders. And we said, let's get this first shipment out there.
Right.
And I remember the staff just saying, Jody, what are you doing? You're sending us so much stuff. I'm like, I don't know. Like,
and it all worked. I mean,
it worked seamless. Like, thinking back, would you change anything? I wouldn't change anything. I think I think the execution and the communication really allowed us to do all the great stuff we did for students. I mean, to date, we've served over 20 million students since that first day of the being closed for pandemic.
Well, and I'll add to that, because think of what you guys have done, and then think about every one of the school districts doing some of the, and we were like, holy mackerel, you know, how are we going to do this to take care of them? And again, it boiled down to, we got to take care of these kids, and we got to figure out if they're going to go curbside, what do we do? How do we get our supply, you know, and then we had to get our drivers to get it to you. But it was all a lot of it was communication, and that's why it works, because if I remember, and you know, we only went to so many schools.
Correct.
You know, we kind of cut down the amount we were going to, but we were doing different and more at those locations. And you were moving stuff around, and there was no blueprint for it. I got to be honest with you, no one had a blueprint for that. I think we lived during unprecedented times, and I sit here today and I wish we could say everything's over, but it still lingers, you know, and still in, but we did a good job.
And I think it strengthened us in many ways, right? I think it's still hard, and it was hard then. I think we laughed a lot. The things I said, I'll never do this, I was really considering things that I really thought I would never consider,
Absolutely.
right? But I think I guess the biggest success was you coming saying, all right, this tray is not going to be here in a week and you're going to run out, but I have this tray. And then you brought me a third tray and then a fourth tray. And everything was approved by the quality of it, the cost of it. We added it all to the bid, you know, keeping in line with federal procurement standards and state procurement standards. I was so impressed. Because I was like, wow, this is awesome. And then I used to laugh because you would call me and say, we're out of that one, this is the next one shipping. But we had it all tiered, right? It was tiered, it was ready. I think the students would sometimes say, like, what's this tray? And we're like, it's new. It's, you know, just a new tray.
You know, Jody, in all honesty, the commitment to you for what you were trying to do, again, you got to go above just the stuff. You know, what you were trying to do for these kids, the students, I was trying to do in the same way for them through you. And if you know, sometimes when you have that higher belief, it makes you do certain things you didn't think you do or couldn't do or weren't achievable, but you do them, and you get it done somehow. But pandemic threw us for a loop.
And I think thinking back, it seemed so difficult at the time, almost chaos-like, but not. And where we sit today, I'm thinking that was not bad. You know, I think when you're right in the moment of it, it seemed a little bit more daunting than it did. I think when you know, separate the components, or look at only our cleaning supplies, or only look at our janitorial supplies, you know, like we need a broom, we still have to clean the floor. How do we get this broom? I think it's those pieces, and that open, and you being very honest with me, right, and us being very honest with you. I think that really did make the difference, and I think our students hands down benefited. Those families originally, when we were able to give them, you know, breakfast, lunch, dinner, whole vegetables, whole green peppers, whole cucumbers, they were all able to take it home and be able to eat together as a family. That really did make a difference.
Absolutely.
And it showed the importance for us, right?
Well, and they're the kind of things that the pandemic was a challenge in itself, but we also were challenged with some regulations. If you think about it, right during the pandemic, they stopped the styrofoam ban, came in the state. So that was another, and the one thing I learned, and I thought you think you know everything, but the things we don't make here in the United States, and how you get dependent on coming from overseas. And then we had the supply chain issues. Then we had the boat, you know, the the issues with the containers who were coming, because Jody, there's a lot of stuff not made here. You know, that's the sad thing, and you know that, we talk about it. There's just a lot of stuff not made here that we were so dependent on coming from overseas, and that was a whole nother dynamic. But somehow, some way, we were able to get through it, you know, or able to get to this point. You know, we can't let our guard down, but I think we to your point, was very good. You live through it, and you look back on it, but you say, we got, you know, we were okay. You know, we did what we had to do. And I think the communication process continues to be the winner of the whole thing.
I think so, and the trust, right? You have to trust each other. I think you know what our, you know, specifications are, and I have to trust that you know that, and you're going to find us what we need, right? And that's what you do. I mean, you often, when you come in with something new, sometimes I'm like, ooh, I love that. And other times it's like, I'm not sure if I'm not sure about that one. So I think that all works so well. So we probably have, I don't know, we might be down to about just a few minutes left of the show.
Okay.
And we talked a little bit about those relationships, but I think we could have spent a half hour about relationships.
Right.
They're super important to both of us. But, you know, just share with the viewers before we close out the show for today, like how important, I know you talked about communication, but why does that relationship make a difference between us, you as FPC Distribution and AACPS, and why is it so good for our students?
Well, again, your team, you know, even the team you have in the field, the people you have at the schools, you know, we try to communicate with all of them through different mediums. You know, whether our drivers communicate them to lift up something to give them, which makes it easier for them, and then in essence it gets to the children faster. I think that those types of relationships and our communication process is second to none, and that's what we try to do. You know, we can sell things, but we try to give you the best value. But my mind, it continues to be people buying from people, people working with people. And if anybody says anything different right now, especially during what we've been through the last couple years, my mind is that if people weren't communicating, they weren't making it. And I've watched people not make it. I've watched people, I won't even say one place, but they said, well, we can't do. I said, you have to.
Right.
You know, but
well,
they
I think the good part is we made it, right?
Yeah, we made it, and that's and it's still exciting. It's still as exciting to me, and we were there with you, and we'll always be there as long as we can be. So,
perfect.
you know,
well,
that's our commitment.
Thank you for FPC Distribution. Thank you for you. You really make a difference.
Thank you, Jody. Same to you.
Thanks again. As you can see, partnerships are so important in Anne Arundel County Public Schools. FPC Distribution and AACPS have a great relationship, and we make a difference for the students of Anne Arundel County. If you have any questions for me about food and nutrition services, please don't hesitate to call me at 410-222-5900. See you again next time on Food for Thought.